everyone, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and we are waiting. There we go. We are actually live on 3 different platforms tonight. We are live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So I'm very excited to be with you guys this evening to kind of find out what's been going on with you guys. So one of the things that's been really important that I have heard a lot of lately is a lot of people having issues with the planets that are in retrograde. And sometimes people don't always understand what planet is affecting them, or why is it affecting them, or what is it causing? What is the effect of it? So that's what we're going to talk about this evening, and hopefully get you some insight, because once you find out like what planet affects you the most, it actually makes it easier. It makes it easier to kind of figure out what's affecting you, why is it affecting you, and then how you can work around it or work with it at the same time. So, hi, my name is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and I am a master psychic medium, and I help clients all over the world. I have different types of clients. I see private clients for people that are going through personal issues, and then I have business clients, and I love all of it. So I am thankful that y'all are joining me this evening. I will be doing talking about each planet. If you have any questions about that planet, make sure you ask any questions that you have, and then I will pull some angel cards to give us a little bit more insight into what's going on. I am starting a brand new Psychic 101 workshop. I've got 2 classes that are coming up. I've got one that's in the classroom here in my home in Sugar Land, and then I have one that's online. I will have a couple of students in different areas that are be joining online. A couple of them are in Colorado, and I think I've got one in Missouri that are coming in. So if you're interested in online and you live far, far away, this is a great way to connect with me. If not, and you're close by and you want to join me in the classroom, you can definitely do that. So I will be posting dates and information later on this evening to my website. Yes, my day is never ending. So let's talk about the one that most people absolutely hate or absolutely terrified about. So the planet that most people are absolutely terrified about is Mercury in retrograde. Now, I posted a video, I think a couple of days ago, about Mercury in retrograde. And one of the things that kind of people get a bad name about it, or kind of different, you know what I'm saying, kind of like Mercury in retrograde. Let's go through the date. So Mercury in retrograde started in its retrograde fashion May 29th. It stationed full retrograde. It went into post shadow May 14th. It stationed full retrograde May 29th, and it'll be in full retrograde until June 22nd, and then it will actually leave retrograde on July 7th, so right after the 4th of July. And so Mercury is known for the planet of communication, and that means absolutely every bit of communication: text messaging, emails, face-to-face communication, whatever it is. I know I've had issues with, hi Dan, how are you doing? I've had issues with my cell phone. I've had to reboot it. I've had to do other issues. Sometimes I get tongue-tied. I'm like trying to say something and it's like, blah, 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 blah. All of that is Mercury in retrograde. And really what Mercury in retrograde is causing people to do is to realize where your communication is wrong, where you can upgrade your communication. So when you have a problem or when you have a miscommunication with someone, think of it as, yay, now I get to fix this that I didn't even know I had a problem with, and now I can move forward. That's the cool part about Mercury in retrograde. Mercury goes into retrograde 3 times this year, I think, and some years it's 4 times. So just know that it's there for you to help you. It is there to assist you in communication so that you communicate more clearly, that you send text messages and emails that are clear communication. Because so many times you'll get on the phone and you'll text, and you'll send it to, and the other person looks at it and you're going, what the heck are they talking about? Or you'll receive one and you're like, I have no clue. That's Mercury in retrograde. That's when you can say, hey, I received your text message or your email or whatever it is, and I didn't understand. So I'm choosing to have clear communication with you. Please resend, or please what are you talking about? Start from the beginning. And it makes it much easier. And I think it's really kind of interesting because a lot of times people think of Mercury in retrograde because people are like, oh my gosh, it's so horrible. Mercury's in retrograde. It's not that bad. And once you kind of deal with some of the energy of it and you start to work through it, you realize it's actually clearing things up. You're actually getting better communication with people and having better connections with people. The other thing that I do a lot during Mercury in retrograde is I don't just turn my computers and turn them all to sleep mode. I will actually turn them off. I will completely turn them off. You are more likely to get, thanks, Carmen. I love, it's one of those, you're more likely to have computer hacks and other issues online. I actually got a really funny email a couple of days ago, and it was someone saying that they withdrew $6,000 out of my account or something like that. And I'm just like, what? And so without checking to their email, it's one of those, I went straight to my account and checked it. And I was like, oh, no one's touched it. It's just, it is literally just someone trying to hack into me. And so it's one of those that will happen more often in Mercury in retrograde. It's kind of just showing you where you have lacks in your security. So just know that that's something that's really important to kind of stay on top of. One of the things that's really important that most people don't realize that they have a communication issue is what their dreams are. So many times people go, oh, I know exactly what I want. And I'll tell you, a lot of times they really, really don't. They think they do. And I was like, if you were to give me a shopping list and to go pick up your dream from the dream store, would I have any questions? That's really important. If I can't go to the dream store and go, she wants this, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you've got to get more clear. You've got to get more clear about what you want. What does that look like for you? I often kind of equate it to going shopping. If someone told me to go buy them a pair of socks, I'd be like, awesome, great, I've got this. And then I get to the store and then, oh my gosh, I start thinking, do they want tall socks or thin socks or fat socks or athletic socks? Or do they want this? Do they want that? Does that make sense? It's kind of like getting more information. A lot of times we think we're doing clear communication and we're really, really not. So get clear communication with the other people in your world and make sure that you're answering their questions. Make sure that they don't have any questions, and ask that, like, is there any clarity that I need to give you? Is there anything that we need to clear up between us that is not coming through as clear, or did you get my message? Ideas and inspiration comes through. So this card is really important. So if you have ideas that you're having problems communicating with people, or inspirations like, wow, I just really don't think that email was as clear as I could have been, fix it, change it. Make another one and say, hey, I don't think I was as clear as I could have been on this email. So let me change it, or let me modify this in some way. Let me change what I've told you, or let me give you a little bit more information, whatever that is. So answered prayers. So many times I sit across my office with someone and they'll tell me, I wish I had better communication with my husband, my wife, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, whatever it is. This is an answered prayer. This comes to us like 3 to 4 times every year, to give us clear communication, to give us that opportunity to clear up our communication with the people that we love around us. That is the important part. And this one literally is popping out. I wasn't going to do a third, but body care. So one of the things that's really important during Mercury in retrograde is that you are getting clear communication about how to take care of yourself. So many times your angels and guides will tell you, hey, why don't you do this? Or hey, why don't we do that? Or take a little bit of a rest. And we don't. We so don't. We just keep going. We just keep kind of pushing through. And it doesn't help us, and it doesn't help the people around us. It's one of those, a lot of times we are not having that clear communication. One of the other things that comes up with Mercury in retrograde is reconnecting with old friends or missing objects. So if you've been missing something like put down your ring somewhere and you can't find it, or a book that you were reading and all of a sudden it's gone, make sure that you are getting that clear communication. So let's go on to our next one, which is Pluto in retrograde. So let's get some dates on Pluto in retrograde. Pluto went into pre-shadow January 4th. It stationed full retrograde April 27th until October 2nd. And then it'll go into post-shadow until January 25th, 2022. So this is like our whole 2021. So Pluto is kind of our planet of kind of earthy sign, kind of making us want or desire us to get more grounded. And it's really a kind of a really interesting part of kind of like rising from the ashes. It's also about being born again, kind of that karma, the fate. The keys are now in play of what would you like to bring up from the ashes, or what would you like to bring forward. Karma is coming up in several different ones. It'll hit us really big time in Saturn in just a little bit, but Pluto has something to do with this as well. And like I said, this one will bring up a lot of information, Pluto will, about your past lives. Pluto brings up a lot of past life information. So if you haven't been doing any past life regressions or know how to do that, make sure that you get in contact with someone. I did a video on that, like how to pick someone to help you through that. It's one of those, past lives affect us way more than we think they do. And so many times we can clear up old stuff in this life by going to a past life, because that's usually where it started. And it can kind of bring up these extreme fears that we can't understand. People that are, like scared to death of heights, or they're scared to death to be in an enclosed place. Whatever it is. I dealt with a client the other day that had a super issue with spiders. So arachnophobia was for her. And we were able to look at it from a past life and kind of bring forward that information. You will also kind of see themes of manipulation, victimization, and people kind of like coming out of that, like, I'm not going to be a victim anymore. I'm not going to stand for that anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to be manipulated or victimized anymore. So you're going to see a lot of people kind of standing up on their own and kind of standing in their own energy, which is really kind of cool. When this happens, and usually it happens this time every year, it will bring up a lot of issues in that way. One of the other things that Pluto in retrograde will bring up is issues around death. People are scared to death of death. It's one of those, they're scared to death that they're going to die. They're scared to death of any type of ending. Going through a divorce, going through an end of a relationship, going through a career change, the death of being a stay-at-home mom, or a death of, like, your kids are now going off to college, and now I'm saying, like, your family's kind of ending in one part. But it's one of those, this is something that comes up really, really interesting. And a lot of spiritual wounds will also come up related to your past lives as well. And I will say the last one that's really interesting is you can have a lot of things that come up that are really into in past lives that are bringing up, like, abuse or trauma, or things that we're ready to let go of in past lives. Okay, so let's go into Pluto in retrograde. I pull the card soulmate. So there may be some issues with soulmates, and soulmates don't just mean your partner, your lover, whatever it is. It can be a friend soulmate. It could be a work partnership soulmate. It's one of those, they come in many different areas. And it's one of those, there may be a death coming around this, or there may be a new transition or a new start. Before something can start, it has to end. Like, something has to end, and then you have a new beginning. And so that's something that you'll see a lot of in Pluto in retrograde. And the other part is you're going to see a lot of people talking about, like, how they've been victimized, or how they've been abused or hurt. And it doesn't mean that it's not real. It just means that it's coming forward so they can work on it and heal it. Romance comes up with Pluto. This is a really great time to kind of take care of yourself. when you are in love with yourself, not vainly, not anything else. This is like, I'm willing to take care of myself. This is a really great time to kind of fall in love with yourself and kind of what are the things I need to clear out, or what are the things that I need to work on, and take some time for yourself and kind of be in love with yourself. The last one I pull up for Pluto in retrograde is all about support. I love this card. It's one of those, it's kind of like there's the earth in the center and there's our angels and guides praying for us. This is something that's really, really important about support. We have way more support on the other side sometimes than we do on this side, and that can be a little bit awesome. So let's go into Saturn in retrograde. Saturn in retrograde is, let's see. I love your comment, Dan. That's a great one. It's one of those talking about great advice. Love yourself so you can love others. Because if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of anybody else. And that's the really fun, cool part. That is the part that is most important or most special. So let's get some dates for Saturn in retrograde. So Saturn went into started pre-shadow February 14th, 2021. It will station full retrograde May 23rd. It'll be full in retrograde until October 10th, and then it will leave retrograde and be in post shadow until January 15th, 22. So this is a really long time. And Saturn is kind of like this really evolving, regenerative, kind of like that regrowth, that rebirth and transforming. And one of the things that's really interesting with Saturn is that you will have issues with authority figures. When Saturn was in retrograde last year, that's when we had a lot of the riots coming up, people having problems or issues with authorities, particularly governments and father figures. And so that came up for a lot of people. And that's stuff that they've been holding onto for a long period of time. It wasn't just what was going on then, it's what's been going on for a long period of time. And one of the weird things is, and I think it's interesting now, that there will be issues surrounding food shortages. So when this came up last year, a lot of people were waiting in long lines to get into the grocery store. And then when you got in there was like hardly anything in there. So knowing that Saturn is in retrograde, I always add a little extra roll of toilet paper or two to my stock, or kind of like, let me make sure I have a little bit of extra in the refrigerator, so I'm not concerned about this. It's one of those, it makes it a little bit easier. And also sometimes I'll just plant some vegetables because that's just really fun. Saturn in retrograde will also affect our weather. Saturn, when it is retrograde, you will have a lot more water issues. You will have a lot more kind of issues coming up. One of the things that I have noticed for most people is when Saturn is in retrograde, people are going through a lot more depression, sadness, tiredness, feeling unmotivated or kind of stuck in some way. Not everybody has this to the same effect. Some people may have it stronger on certain days when Saturn is conjunct or in alliance with different planets. So that can make it come up a little bit stronger. It's one of those, make sure that you're doing the right thing and know that it's one of those, it's only a short-term thing. It's not a long-term thing. But if you deal with depression on a daily basis, this is going to be something that you're going to be overwhelmed by at some point. So just make sure that you're working through it and knowing that this is a short-term problem. It's not going to last forever. And one of the things that I often tell people is to get out of your daily routine. If you are depressed in some way, get out of your daily routine, go for a walk, even go stand outside for a little bit. And that can help alleviate some of that as well. One of the things that's really important is to kind of stay as organized and structured as possible. And there might be some like legal issues that come up during this time frame. And because Saturn is so far out, the further out the planet, the more globally it affects everybody. So one of the things that's kind of interestingly cool is that will affect more planets kind of more globally the further out they are. So because Saturn's kind of like in that middle range, it will affect global interest. It will you will have this kind of yin-yang twist to things. You may even have, and just, what is it, like 3 days ago, we had our calendars marked for our square with our Leo moon, kind of like square to Saturn and Uranus. And so that will bring up a lot more things as that continues on for a little bit. One of the things I think is really interesting, this will also kind of hit a lot of people in the ego. People that are very ego living, or they're always concerned about their ego or their mentality of what's going on, that will be really something that will come forward for them. So let's pull a couple of cards for Saturn in retrograde, because we're running out of time. If y'all have any questions about Saturn in retrograde, I'll be more than happy to. One of the things that's really important to listen to when Saturn is in retrograde is what other people are saying. It's one of those, really listen to their words, because sometimes they will almost blurt out things and you'll just kind of like, okay, wasn't expecting that answer, but here it is. It's just all of a sudden they'll just kind of throw things out there. So that's kind of like an interesting part of Saturn. Retreat. I often do this during when we have a lot of planets in retrograde. I will take more time to meditate. I will take longer to meditate, and kind of take some time of just like, okay, let me take 5 minutes to myself and find out what I need to be doing next. What do I need to be caring for next? Or even taking some time for myself. Like Dan said, taking time for ourselves can be really amazing at this time frame. Let's see. Harmony. When we are in harmony with what's going on around us, it doesn't hurt as much. Saturn is also the planet of karma. So if you have karma that is in play, you've got to work on it. Otherwise, you're going to be going through a really, really hard time. Saturn goes into retrograde, I think, almost once a year almost. And this is a really important time for people to be really clear about clearing up the old stuff, things that you haven't let go of from the last time Pluto was, that Saturn was in retrograde. So that is really, really important. So let's go into Jupiter in retrograde. So Jupiter went into pre-shadow March 27th. It turns full retrograde June 20th. It turns direct October 18th, and will leave post-shadow on January 8th, 2022. So that's 3 planets in a row that we have in retrograde almost all of 2021. So that's some of the stuff that we're going into. So one of the things that's really important to know about Jupiter is all about making things bigger. Normally, Jupiter's like, it's got to be bigger, it's got to be better, it's got to be the best. So one of the things that's really interesting to do during this time frame is kind of like Jupiter's going to make things tighter or smaller, and it's kind of pushing things in, and then it'll expand again. Let's see, Dan is asking, would Saturn retrograde be a good time for shadow work? I would say it would really be, but I would say more it's really kind of like Pluto, because it's kind of like that past life stuff and kind of bringing up that shadow. Like I said, Pluto is more like that planet of death and rebirth. So it's kind of like working in that shadow area and pulling it out. Let's go back. During Jupiter in retrograde, it can make us feel dizzy, optimistic about things that are kind of like really not that optimistic. So you're kind of like, this is a really interesting flow here. Jupiter kind of goes between Aquarius and Pisces during this retrograde. So it's going to have some different energy as well. It starts in retrograde and then it backs up and then it goes forward again. It's one of those, it's a great time to gain information or gain insight. It's one of those, this is a really great time to get some understanding. And during this time frame, we're going more likely to have political things in the forefront for what's going on. So you're going to have more political stuff on the news instead of kind of what are we dealing with? It's more political. And then it can also kind of bring some restlessness to our tectonic plates. We're more likely to have earthquakes or tsunamis or, you know what I'm saying, like that sort of thing. Doesn't mean we have to. It's just we're more likely to. Doesn't mean we're going to. It just means we're more likely to. And one of the things that can be really interesting with Jupiter in retrograde is that it can really kind of mess with our good luck that we normally have. So if you've had some not so great luck, just know that that's kind of tied into Jupiter in retrograde. Okay, so let's talk about Jupiter real quick. Let's pull a couple of cards and get us some information. Jupiter is a great time to celebrate. And one of the things I love about Jupiter in retrograde is because as kind of like we feel like things are closing in on us, it also makes things when they go back out like more exciting, more celebrations coming, more like what's coming in at us. And I think that's a great energy to really be interested in or to be aware of during this time frame emerging. Jupiter in retrograde can also bring your abilities more forward, especially kind of your claircognizant and your clairvoyant issues. It can bring those like more forward and kind of expand that energy more than what we think it's going to be. So I think that's just kind of an interesting phenomenon. Enchantment. When you are dealing with Jupiter, look at things as a child. It's kind of the best way to look at Jupiter. Jupiter has such a beautiful energy to it, and it's usually very expanding and very fulfilling for a lot of people. And this is something, just think of it as small. It's going to like bring things, everything in and then expand out again. And that's the really cool part. Let's go into Neptune. I know, Neptune in retrograde. This is the one that I feel like a lot of people are dealing with right now. So let's see. Neptune went into retrograde March 4th into pre-shadow. It full retrograded on June 25th and will start direct December 1st and will be in pro-shadow until March 21st. If you don't understand any of the things I'm talking about, I will try to link a video in the description below that where I talk about like retrograde cycles and what does it mean and how does it affect us. Let's see. Neptune is the planet that kind of messes with our dreams more than anything else. People will come to me and say that they've been having like amazing dreams or dreams that are kind of out of the ordinary, or kind of like I had a dream and didn't really understand it. So I have so many clients that will call me and be like, oh my gosh, I had a dream. What does this mean? And what does that mean? It's one of those, that's the really cool part. That's the fun part about this, but it can also kind of put us in that energy of kind of like wanting to step back in life. Neptune in retrograde kind of makes us want to like kind of step back in our world, kind of go into video games or going into playing on the computer or being on Facebook or Instagram for hours. It's kind of like, I want this alone time with myself, but it's not really alone time. It's more like decompression. And it's one of those, and people will stay like that for days sometimes. And it's one of those, it can bring up a lot of painful stuff from in past lives as well. So we not only have this here, but we'll have that in several of the other planets as well, is like this past life information coming forward. Sometimes people will feel like they are the victim, and you're going to feel that more with Neptune, but it's not as bad as it is with some of the others, but it will really, really affect people. I will tell you that this is the one that I feel has been affecting a lot of people's health, making people feel like tired, more lethargic than some of the other ones. I think it's a really one, and you're going to find a lot of people kind of wanting to kind of step out in their spiritual development, kind of getting self-help books, learning astrology, about their psychic abilities. This is a really great time to kind of work on your own abilities. So let's pull a couple of cards and let's get some more insight about Neptune in retrograde. Neptune in retrograde is about new beginnings. this is the kind of the coming to the end, and then we're going to restart in Neptune in retrograde. And it's one of those, you're going to feel a lot of things coming to an end and then restarting during this time frame. So Neptune is kind of like this time of, I was talking to a client today about her abilities, and she was like, I feel like this peaceful time is coming to a close and this spiritual growth is coming out. And that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like the ending of that and the new beginnings of our spiritual journey coming to a new level. Surrender and release is a really important one. And that comes up a lot of times with past life regressions. It can come up with a lot of past life stuff. So finding someone to help you with your past lives, not in this one, but a lot of other people, is really important to find someone who can do a meditation without putting their own verbiage or words to what you're learning or what you're dealing with. It's really that important part of where am I want to go with this? And a lot of times when I've seen people do past life regressions, they're kind of implanting seeds, even if they don't realize it, they're implanting seeds. So it's being really careful with that. Intentions. What is your intention? With all of these planets in retrograde, what is your intention for today? What is your intention for tomorrow? What are you setting for your goal? What are you setting that you want to do or take care of or move into? So that's really, really important. Let's go into our last one. And I know we're over just a little bit. This is Pluto and retrograde. Okay. So Pluto in retrograde is started in pre-shadow January 4th. It turns retrograde April 27th through October. Or did we already do Pluto? Did we do Pluto? Yes, we did. Okay, so we already did Pluto. So yay, we are so finished. So yay, we finished right on time. Make sure that you are liking this video. I love doing this this content. I love talking to you guys about all of this information. One of the things that's important, it's one of those that's really important for you to understand, is that planets in retrograde affect everybody a little bit differently. So that you may be going through something right now that someone else went through 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that's really important to kind of be aware of at this time. So be gentle with people, be really kind, because if not, you're going to be dealing with that a little bit of karma when Saturn goes into retrograde again, or it could even bite you this time. I know that can be really sad. So I thank you so much guys for joining me. I'm not sure. Most likely I will be on next Thursday night. We are starting some new information. If you haven't signed up for my newsletter, make sure that you do so. Everything is off to the side. And I thank y'all so much for joining me. Dan, you're very welcome. I so appreciated y'all being with me. And Dan, I appreciated your questions. I thank y'all so much, and y'all have an amazing night. And I know we'll be talking again soon. Good night.